Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Good evening. I'd like to call the Plan Commission on October 21st to order. First is the approval of minutes.
I move approval.
Second.
All approve? Say aye.
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 All right, thank you. That passes. Next is public appearances for non-agenda items. Is anyone here for something that's not on the agenda? It looks like everyone's here for something. Okay. Then agenda review. Any updates?
There's no changes proposed to the agenda.
All right, so then into the agenda items. First is 5A, public hearing and consideration of ordinance 2025-0-24 and Plan Commission Resolution PCR-4-25. Do you want to give update on this, overview on this one?
Can we do it however you want? I can do the open up, or you can do the public hearing first.
Oh, that's right.
Just open the.
I'll open the public hearing for item 5A. Is there anyone here to speak on 5A? Then I'll close the public hearing and go to staff comment.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Deanna Schmidt. I am the city planner. I'll just introduce the items here this evening, beginning with item 5A, which is an ordinance to create a medium-high density residential land use category. So this would be a category that is between our current set of future land use categories, which would go from medium density, which is 5 to 9 dwelling units per acre, and then high density is currently 9 dwelling units per acre. Staff is proposing a new, well, you've seen this before, but we're proposing a new land use category that would rest between medium density and high density, called medium high density residential, that would allow for housing development between 9 and 20 dwelling units per acre. Staff believes that this fits an important need in Fitchburg to kind of get us in that range of what's commonly referred to as middle housing, so in between single family and lower density, and on the opposite hand, high density, large multifamily. Plan Commission might recall that you have seen this proposal previously last year in our spring 2024 minor comp plan amendment cycle. Plan Commission voted to approve medium high density residential with 9 to 15 housing units per acre. That was staff's original proposal was 9 to 15. The 15 referred back to a standard in our SMART code under T4. So much of Terra Vesa, the single family and the townhomes, are built in T4. It's T-zone 4, and the maximum is 14.4 dwelling units per acre in that SMART code zone. So staff used the 15 as kind of a example of what a top end density of 15 would look like. That's where that staff's number came from. You might recall that after Plan Commission passed the medium high density residential with 9 to 15 housing units per acre, this item went to council, and council referred back to Plan Commission with a request to adopt 9 to 20 dwelling units per acre. When it came back to Plan Commission, Plan Commission determined that that was not appropriate, and they failed to approve the 9 to 20 housing units per acre. So that's kind of where it stopped. In our world of planning and planning law, both Plan Commission and Council need to adopt a minor comp plan amendment substantially the same, other than maybe some typos or some minor edits, but essentially the same. So with that failure of passage, it just died. And so this evening, staff is bringing back the medium high density residential at 9 to 20 dwelling units per acre. I, in my professional eyes, don't see a lot of difference between 15 and 19. As an example of what 20 dwelling units per acre might look like, you might recall that the Limerick over on Lacey to the west of us here, they have townhomes as a part of that development, and that's about 20 dwelling units per acre. So I covered a lot of ground there, and I will take your questions and comments.
So one of the things that I remember from when we looked at this in the past was the types of housing that would be built and the types of housing that we want to be built for missing middle. And we want them to be owner-occupied, able to be purchased. And once you start to get above the 18 range, 18 to 20, it tends to be much more likely that it's going to be multi-story, that it's going to be rental. And I think the other thing we were looking at this zoning category for is when we're doing infill in already developed areas where we get a lot of pushback and opposition to high density. Obviously, anything right now, it's either up to 9 or over 9. And we were looking for something in the middle where we could do townhouses and patio homes and things like that, and not get into some more high density, because obviously there's a lot of that going in right now too. So those would be my two concerns that I have about going back to 20, is that a couple of the websites, the planning websites that I went to today, said there really is a significant difference in 5 more units per acre. And I just wonder what we want it to look like. Do we want it to look like a lot of the high density areas we already have, or do we want it to actually look like something unique where we're using some unique building styles to put in some housing options? So those are my thoughts.
Yes, I agree. And I think there's a sense in having uniformity. If T4 is described as a zone with townhomes and small multifamily, that seems to be what we want this category to be. And so in my mind, there was a reason that we went to 15, and I don't recall that there was a real rationale on the part of the council to go to 20. I think 20 was just kind of mentioned by an alder, and it seemed not unreasonable. So I would still like to stick with up to 15. I don't know that it's worth another 2 years of debate, though, so I'm not sure what to do about it. You know, it's like, who's going to blink first, I guess.
If I remember right, which is it's a while back now, but I would have anticipated that if it came back at 20 and we disagreed saying, no, it wasn't 20, didn't we say, instead of trying to push something back, I thought you were going to take messaging and we were going to, and I think it just, we never got back to this agenda item. And so, I mean, it's such a long time now, but I think we were going to have a little bit more of like a, you know, is there a big driver from the council before we just push something back, and we were trying to be a little bit more, you know.
If I recall correctly,
playing the sandbox nice.
council wanted to go up to 20. We encouraged them to re-refer it back to plan to see if we could agree. Plan, we decided to stick with the 15, referred it back to council at that amount, and the council then again amended it and passed it. But at that time, there was that amendment that had passed that said council and plan could disagree, which some people said was not, didn't make sense based on state statute. So we have since changed that. So now by our ordinances, plan and council have to agree.
Did it come back and forth that much?
It was plan to council,
And
back
council
to
back,
plan.
and that's it.
Back to council. That was the entirety of from my recollection.
That's why I don't remember that we actually put it back. I thought we,
Yeah, I'm not quite sure I remember council
I think what,
Going
this
back
is, I
again after
recall,
we
this
stood at
is
15?
what I recall, that staff brought a new Plan Commission resolution forward the second time with the 9 to 20, and then you all turned that down.
right, I guess by us turning it down, what we typically would do is say, nope, we're going to change that back to 15 and send it back to council. And I thought we were trying to avoid that kind of volley and instead say, we're not going to vote on this. I thought we just had said we're not going to vote, or we voted it down, and that we were going to try and kind of more work with council. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is, do you feel like there's a big appetite from council to have this back and forth if this body feels like 15 is the right way to go given the discussion?
I would say this is a different council.
Okay.
There has been some turnover. Some of the loudest voices, or I guess I would say one of the loudest voices, is no longer on council. I cannot say how some of the new alders
Sure.
would speak to this, because I don't think we've had this specific type of conversation. I know that this council did pass the change to say that plan and council must agree. So I think there's at least alignment that we agree now that we should agree on this, whatever this outcome is.
I think the frustrating part is that because the two bodies never meet together, they couldn't hear the conversation that we had about the types of housing that we're looking to put into these places. And that truly is missing middle, not more.
Yeah. I mean, I tried to
rentals.
summarize the conversation to the
Right.
best of my
And I know
ability,
you,
but
right, you're one person against the mass. But I just think that, I mean, we had sound reasoning for why there was sound reasoning for why Deanna and staff originally recommended 15. I think we're always going to have developments that are going to come in, and there's going to be a unique piece of land where maybe they could try to squeeze in 16, and, but then when we go and rezone it, the zoning sticks with the land, and if the project falls through, then we're stuck with a high-density place where we didn't want it. So, I don't know.
I'm happy to amend what we have in front of us and make that back to 9 to 15 and send it to council and see what happens.
And
I
we
agree.
can, just to check with.
I would agree with that, Stephen.
Yeah.
We can do that with the minor comp plan process.
You can amend it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a resolution, and you would amend, we'll ask for a motion to amend the PCR, the Plan Commission resolution. You'll vote on that, and then you can vote on a recommendation to council with an ordinance, but at the 9 to 15 is how I would do it.
I guess Deanna, in the memo, if I recall correctly, you said that there is not a lot of things that come forward in the 9 to 20. Or sorry, the 15 to 20 range
right
is a pretty
now,
rare amount.
We don't, right?
So the Limerick might be one of the few that we've seen.
Yeah, the Limerick, how they did the townhouses. There's the townhouses on the front, and then there's some townhouses in the back. That gets you to about the 20 dwelling units per acre. But of course, as you know, most everything that comes forward for us is a small lot, residential. The townhomes, we do a lot in the SMART code. And otherwise, we get up into the plus 100 units buildings, right?
What is the, on Cheryl Drive, where it's single lots that are being sold out, Cheryl in there?
That's a good question. Maybe Dan could run that number quick.
Well, while you're looking at that, I would like to stay with 15 for the reason that we have a rationale for it. And when I listened to the council meeting, when it was proposed to go to 20, there wasn't, as I recall, a rationale. It was just, an alder said 20, and then it sounded, good. And so I think I think if there's a reason versus no reason, we should go with reason, so.
I think another important reason, at least to me, is that if we were going to do 15 versus 20 in an infill near a traditional neighborhood, there would be more room for green space. Whereas when we're looking at the super high density that we have in Terra Vesta, there's no room for trees. There's barely any room for sidewalks and green space. So I would rather have a little bit more cushion on that end so that we could have something that would blend better with an infill neighborhood. And I think that's where it's going to get used, to be honest with you. I don't see us planning a neighborhood, a brand new neighborhood, where we're going to do a lot of, well, are we going to have medium or are we going to have medium high? I think it's probably just going to stay with medium and high. I think this is a special use category, and that's why I want to keep it at 15 if we can.
And I would agree, because a lot of times we end up with that, it's the 10, 11, 12s is what that's why we're putting this in place. Let's remember that, because a lot of times it's just a little bit more than medium. And once you go to high, I mean, rightfully so, the neighborhood is going to go, what? And we're all going to go, what? You know, because again, you put that as future land use, and then when it comes, or you zone it, and then you're stuck with that. And what we thought was high, meaning 14 dwelling units, all of a sudden becomes 140. So, yeah, I'll take a motion if anyone wants to keep moving this meeting along.
So I think we should move to approve first, and then we amend if that's the desire. So I'm to approve ordinance 2025-024.
Really? That we didn't,
You, I see where you're going with this.
Typically, you should do a motion and then
And then
you
a second,
amend
and
the
then we'll
motion.
oh, so we voted down. I'm going to.
No. I make a motion, then we have to amend the motion.
I would
Vote
vote to
on-
amend the
okay.
motion to 15.
But I think I need a second on the motion.
Yes.
right?
Second.
Thank you.
I'll move to amend to 15 based on Plan Commission discussion.
Second. I think I can second, right?
Second, if you
Thank
can't.
you. Okay, then we'll vote on, do we have to do the amendment, or can we do it all at
We
once?
vote on the amendment.
Okay, so
And-
vote on the amendment to change this to 9 to 15.
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
That motion carries. Then all those in favor of the Plan Commission Resolution PCR-4-25 as amended, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
That motion carries.
Okay, and just for the committee's knowledge, when I remove this in council, I'll move it as amended by Plan Commission and explain this conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And then I just also, as a matter of, I do need to have a motion, an approval on the recommendation for the Common Council ordinance.
I'll move approval of Plan Commission PCR 0425.
We just did that. We need.
Oh, I did the ordinance.
Oh, okay.
My
okay,
motion was on the ordinance.
Okay.
Okay,
That's fine. And then let's do the PCR then.
I move approval of PCR 0425.
I'll move to amend the language to 15.
second.
Sorry.
Got a second.
So I'll move to amend the language to limit 15 units.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of amending the original motion to be 9 to 15, say aye.
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 Any opposed? That amendment carries. Then all those in favor of adopting PCR-4-25, say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you for that procedural fun. All right. Then, moving on to 5B, public hearing and consideration of ordinance 2025-0-25 and Plan Commission Resolution PCR-5-25. We have a few people here, so I will open the public hearing.
Do you want to do,
Is there someone? No, this is the one that has. Okay.
okay. So, see if he's in the room.
Is Chris Wopat here? Yeah. Okay. Come on up. Yep, in front of one of the mics, please.
Thank you. First of all, Gabriella, your earrings are pretty amazing. That's great. Slight distraction. Yeah, I just have, I'm opposed to the idea of changing the zoning to high density. So I live on the property right behind it. And I've been to all the meetings, and I see that Mr. Huntley and Mr. Frank are here. There's 2 points that I wanted to make. One is just that in the neighborhood meetings that I've been to, the last one that was discussed where there was a setback of 60 feet or 120 feet, the words high density never came up. Like in the meeting notes, it says something like, everybody agreed that high density was the way to go, and just those words never showed up. Basically, it said it could be a hotel, and maybe that's implying that it's high density, and I just didn't know that, or that it would be something else, the business, and it would be 60 feet. So just a little bit of, I don't know, seemed a little bit off to me. And the other thing is that when you look at the zoning map, I couldn't find anywhere else in Fitchburg where there's low density, which is our area, which is directly next to a high density. Like the other apartment unit that's going up is next to a medium density, and it just seems a little bit weird. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
I think these are both applicants.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They are both applicants.
Then I'll call on Chris and Corey. Do you want to, or whomever we have here for the applicant?
Good evening. I'm Jeff Hunley, the developer for the Jamestown Quarry. And just to respond to Mr. Wolpat's comments, our last neighborhood meeting we had included Corey. And the purpose of that meeting was to propose this second multifamily building, which is high density. So I'm not sure where we didn't communicate that well, so I apologize to Mr. Wolpat, but that was always our intention in our last meeting we had. And that's what we're proposing now, would be a second building similar to what's there now. And I'm here to answer any other questions. Corey Frank, the developer of the apartments, is here, and our engineer, Chris Dawson's also here.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Yes, come on up and bring that if you will.
I'm David Haight, 5855 Woods Edge Road. So I specifically did not come and speak about the first item. I did not want to perturb your deliberation of the substance of the amendment. But I want to point out that the council did adopt an ordinance to change it to 20. It's a real problem that the corporate counsel, the city attorney, is not involved in this at all. So now we have a situation where you're acting in the belief that the adoption of the change to the language of the comprehensive plan somehow obviates a past ordinance because it said you can't have a conflict. So that's a fundamental problem here. The other thing is that you're not adopting a resolution per se alone. You're adopting an amended master plan. So you have adopted an amendment to the master plan. Adoption of amendment results in an amended master plan. You're recommending not the amendment to the council. You're recommending the amended master plan, including the amendment that you just voted on, because the law, 661001-1A, says a comprehensive plan is a master plan adopted by this body. The council never adopts an amendment. It adopts an amended master plan. So there are all kinds of procedural problems here that permeate the comprehensive plan. And one of the issues is that the fact that you as a body are preempted based on the comprehensive plan language, which is not a regulation. And in fact, you have an opinion that specifically says from the League of Wisconsin Municipalities that the following: When state statutes set forth a specific procedure for enacting and amending a comprehensive plan, a municipality cannot modify the statutory procedure by including language inconsistent with the state statutes in the plan. And what does it say? It says, you make the amendments and extensions. So there's a fundamental legal problem here. And for example, so now we have something that's put forth by the developer. Based on what? What the developer wants to do, not based on the 9 elements and all the contents of the comprehensive plan and how it fits in with that, how it fits in with the new neighborhood and the old neighborhood. It basically is put forth, sponsored, looks to me, by the mayor, based on the planning that was not done by you, but was done by the developer. So I'm against this for that reason. But I also want to continue to point out that there are fundamental legal issues with the integrity of the comprehensive plan.
Right.
So thank you for listening. I appreciate it, as always.
Anyone else from the public want to comment on 5B? Sure, I think.
Thank you. Just the diagram that's up right here, that isn't the diagram that was shown, and just Mr. Huntley just commented that this was always the intent of that apartment building, and what was shown in that meeting was not this diagram. It was just, space there. The other apartment building that's in pink on this diagram, thank you, was going up at the time. I think the garage was being built or something, and it seems like it'd be easy to just copy paste that over here if that was the intent at the time. Thanks.
All right. Unless there's anyone else, I will then close the public hearing and look for update from staff. Thank you.
The Anton Drive redevelopment plan identifies these lands, and this entire area is included in the Anton Drive redevelopment plan. The Anton Drive redevelopment plan identifies these lands as medium-density residential with business to the south. However, the plan also allowed for flexibility, noting that the boundary between medium density and business could shift. And so the plan specifically called out a park and conservancy strip of no less than 60 feet is required to buffer the existing residential from the new development. And if the plan, if proposed business would take the entire area so that there would be no medium density residential, and the Anton Drive plan allowed that, then the plan called for a minimum 120-foot buffer towards the north. The subject property is the northern portion of Outlot 3 of Jamestown Quarry Plat. The applicant is requesting this change to allow multifamily, a very similar development that's just to the east, as noted here in the pink. The proposal would be approximately 30 market rate housing units featuring a very similar layout and architectural development. The application does include this conceptual site plan. Staff does note that approval of this amendment does not bind the applicant to the specific site plan. The site plan is provided to Plan Commission to determine the compatibility of the proposed future land use category with the surrounding areas. Approval of the amendment does change the comprehensive plan future land use, and this new future land use would remain in effect even if this particular project did not proceed. Both the comprehensive plan and the Anton Drive redevelopment plan cite the need for housing located in walkable neighborhoods orientated towards transit and commercial connectivity. So this idea of mixed housing and commercial development is something that's pointed out in really all of our neighborhood plans and comprehensive plans. The comprehensive plan also cites the needs for infill housing and a diversity of housing options. This proposal would increase the housing densities near commercial uses and the future elementary school, proposed just to the east. Staff notes that the comprehensive plan and the Anton Drive redevelopment plan include policies that encourage owner-occupied housing And staff would look to future development in this area, specifically the infield, to explore ownership condominiums. The change into high-density residential in staff opinions would require a larger buffer than the 60-foot. Staff does recommend a 120-foot buffer along the north property line. Staff also recommends that the developer provide some park space with playground equipment. This would put, if proposed and developed into a similar manner within, this would put more than 500 apartment units in this area. So play space would be good. Staff also notes that the Verona School District has purchased lands to the east, to these lands here for the future elementary school. Staff is also concerned about the transition between the new multifamily development and the proposed commercial development to the south. As you can see, the multifamily would really look kind of down and at the backside and loading docks and really the back of the house kind of the commercial development. So this would be something that would need to be addressed through more site design and more care. Finally, staff notes that the conceptual site plan currently shows parking between the building frontage and Fitzroy Road. That's not ideal, but in this case, due to the challenging site conditions, including steep grades, rock, this may be unavoidable, and I am open to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Can you talk about the physical and visual barriers between the north and the north part of the lot and then all the single family homes that it would be in front of?
Add in, sorry, the mic wasn't working. I can add in on that comment. So I guess first off, wanted to add a little more context for the neighborhood meetings. There were 2 neighborhood meetings, and they were very well attended. There were the alders and were involved in scheduling, and there were the neighborhood association, I should say, and there were alders and city staff in attendance. And the most recent neighborhood meeting earlier this year was specific to this phase 2 of the development, which is the orange and blue highlighted areas you see on the map, the northwestern portion. And the biggest question that was posed, and Jeff made it a big point to be as transparent as possible in this stage, as there's multiple stages to follow. The biggest question was the question of big box and medium density, with the medium density then being more than likely very close to the northern lot line at that 60 foot, which then would not allow, due to grades, would allow for no berm at all, and it would actually be a negative slope coming off the northern lot line down to the townhomes. So there would be zero buffer between the north lot line, or the alternative of a smaller retail center and high density residential, as you see here, the high density residential being proposed similar to phase 1. And what this allows for is a setback of greater than 120 feet. And what Jeff from the start had as an idea for this development was keeping these single family homes in mind to the north and incorporating a substantial berm, if at all possible, to allow as a buffer from the houses to the north and the future development to the south. So by moving that setback from 60 feet to 120 plus feet, that allows the proper space to work with the grades and actually allow for a berm to be built and trees then on top of the berm as a visual buffer, versus if it was 60 feet and townhomes, that wouldn't be a possibility. So this is the minor comp plan amendment that we're here for. There's 3 more steps after this. There's the CDP that'll come to Commission and Council, the GIP, and then the SIP. So this is not a detailed plan by any means. Generally, plans aren't shown at this point, but Jeff was asked to put a concept on the plan for this submittal here. The CDP will further define the GIP even more so, and the SIP even further, of course. So right now at this point, what we're asking for is the comp plan amendment, minor comp plan amendment, to have that high density multifamily and the larger buffer to the north.
Thank you.
And to answer your question, sorry. So as far as what that might look with the buffer, preliminary grading plans for a multifamily building similar to what you see on this conceptual plan allows for a berm that is upwards of 20 to 30 feet higher than the first floor elevation of the multifamily. So what that means is you'd possibly only have, in some portions, only 15 feet of a 45-foot building showing above the sight line of the berm, and there would be trees planted on the berm as well. So as far as what is visual to the north, it's not a 4-story building at the same height. It's a building set down at a significantly lower level with a berm in between as well. So it's been well thought out from the start in that regards as far as the north lot line. And I know Jeff from the beginning, when he started looking at this parcel for development, that was one of the first things that he kind of pledged from the start. So,
is it technically possible to consider medium high here if we're still in limbo with the council and the plan commission?
Not today. Come springtime, we could, right? Yeah.
Not.
Other comments or questions? Yeah.
It just seems a little bit strange to me that the way that these will flow. The resident who spoke is correct that we don't typically put high density next to single or low density housing. I'm less bothered by it because it's the backyards versus the front yards sharing a street. And I think if we can truly do a decent sized berm, I guess I have a little less issue with it. But it just feels strange to me to have two very large apartment buildings at the back of this development go to commercial and then go down to the 4 businesses we've already approved. I'm having trouble wrapping my head about what that's going to look like. And then when we talk about developing the infield, we're going to be talking about trying to get the home ownership in this development to be bordered by all commercial and all high density, which, and granted it'll have a school on one side, but I'm just kind of wondering if someone can help me with what this is going to look like. Maybe Deanna, you've got a better idea, but like, what is this going to look like from McKee when you look up there?
I don't want to give the impression that I thought that like single family could go on the infield. I think what I was more envisioning, some condos, something like that. Right now, the infield is zoned for mixed use, high density residential and business right now. Or that's the future land use right now is business, high density, and mixed use. So I didn't want to leave that impression. I think that this overall development is going to be a higher density even on the infield too.
Because I think, you know, as the former alder for this district, and I was actually on the committee for the Anton Drive planning, one of the big concerns we had also was that this is already a very dense area. Actually, the entire north part of Fitchburg, especially in District 1, is already very high. And I would wonder about how much traffic burden we're adding. I like that it's market because we do have a lot of affordable housing already in this area, so that doesn't bother me. And I like these buildings. I've been very vocal about how much I like these buildings. but I wasn't aware we were going to get 2 of them. I must have missed the memo for the second neighborhood meeting, but I don't know. Those are just kind of my raw thoughts on it. I think we're going to have to be careful about what we do with the infield.
I'm actually more concerned about the placement of it when you look at, you're behind medium box commercial, you got 2 apartments, and I'm just looking at that physical layout. You're on the corner there, and there's no other access around it, right? Mm-hmm. Not so much in Fitchburg, at least yet, thank God, knock on wood, but in Madison, there's areas where you start building apartments in certain, like talk about traffic flow, and that's dead ends of streets, one-way, that's where you start seeing a lot of the major issues that have been going on. So just looking at this and thinking about this building kind of just being tucked in it feels like it's tucked in the corner, and I'd feel a lot better about making this townhouses that are owner-occupied than putting 200 people, 300 people, 400 people in the corner. Because of what can happen when you put too much high density too close together and depending on traffic flow. So that's the thing that caught my eye. But
One of the things that we looked at from the start of this development is I've always been sensitive to the neighbors to the north, and we've always sought their input on the plan. And the way it sits now, one option was a big box retailer that could be within 60 feet, give or take a little bit, which would put those neighbors looking in the back of a big box that's going to have deliveries, in some cases, who knows, 24 hours a day. And so when we met, and I apologize to Mr. Wolpett because he's right, it was kind of an either or. We didn't show a specific plan, but we had proposed one option is keep it as is and do a big box, which can be as close as 60 feet. And the other option is maybe another second building that's high density with 120 feet with a berm that we can put evergreens on that's high that will limit what you're going to see from your house.
I do want to just correct you. It would be 120 given the neighborhood plan. So big box is still going to have 120 minimum. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. And I say that incorrectly, sorry. And the neighbors, it was the neighbors that said this is the direction that we wanted to go, and this is why we've kind of moved forward with the high density. The other thing to consider is we're trying to create, and I think the infield will be a big part of this, is some walking traffic. And the retail center that we're looking at, we're working with a grocery store that I think is really attractive to the apartments, attractive to the neighbors. And we're trying to create a little bit of a walkable traffic and uses that can service the neighborhood, and the infield will only help that. So we've done extensive traffic studies, which we've shared with the city, and we're making big improvements to McKee, new turn lanes on McKee, new turn lane on Petrona. Matter of fact, we believe we're doing more traffic improvements than necessary, but that's what we're doing. And but the walkable traffic, we think, is good for the entire area, and that's what we're trying to create. So,
do we know what the Verona school? I'm wondering if people who are sending, if there's more of a desire for owner-occupied, single-family townhomes, whatever, to feed into a school, or will a lot of the kids want to come from 500 apartment units? I don't think I said that well, but what is are huge apartment buildings the best, most desired feeders into the school, which actually I don't even know. I thought it was an elementary school, but what's the intention? Yeah. I struggle with this because we need housing. It's on a transit line for a lot of reasons. It's good to put the high density there, but I also struggle because of the reasons that everybody said here. I do feel better if you really would have a big berm, so it wouldn't be the homes, and then all of a sudden they're looking at a big multifamily building. But I wish we had medium high density.
Am I right that I think I caught that it's either big box or medium box with high density? Is that kind of
in reality, that's what it is. We can't, the property, the expense et cetera, it would not allow us to do any kind of ownership of any sort. We considered early on a hotel was an option. We looked at a potential high-rise condominium, but couldn't get any interest there. So the high density is really the best solution that we thought.
Obviously, yeah, that's why developers love them. Yeah,
But yeah, and it's what the neighbors indicated they were.
More than a big box.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was like, I think all of us would prefer to have owner-occupied townhouses in any given parcel. I think that we just need more of that housing stock, but it's usually not an either or. That's the constant problem that we face. This is a pretty, there's a lot of transit in this area. We do have bus service here. It did get a little bit worse with the redesign, but I'm hopeful that if we have more apartments coming in, that we can get some of that bus service back, justify it. And the other thing I'll just say is that the more I read about housing, is that the more market rate housing you bring in, it sounds like, it'd be great to have affordable, it'd be great to have owner occupied, but the more of this owner occupied market rate housing, the more of this rental market rate housing you bring in, it actually brings prices down, because the more stock we have, the more affordable overall the region becomes, because more housing right now is absolutely what is needed, which is why this is interesting to me. And I do think that if this were a 4-story building on someone's backyard, that would be a very different case than it being, the visual being much more narrow. Is that in part because of the grading of this property? So are we starting at a lower elevation than the elevation of the single family homes already? Can you just, I know we talked about this already, but can you just walk through it one more time?
Go ahead, Corey.
Yeah, so the northern lot line is significantly higher than the grade of where you see a conceptual multifamily building, for one. So there's this whole site was, of course, quarried, and it's a fill site. The rock excavation stopped. You can actually kind of see a line on the aerial map. It gives a good idea of where they stopped excavating the rock. Well, anyways, there's kind of a rock shelf there, and it slopes down significantly from the northern lot line. There's since been fill material moved to create a temporary berm. The permanent berm, it wouldn't be that size. That's too much material to stay. But basically, what we'd be looking to create is a berm that still, you'd have drainage swale at the north lot line, or inside the north lot line, so that no runoff can go to the north. It all stays on site. And then from there'd be a slight increase in grade change to the top of a berm, which would have a flat space for trees, and then it would slope down at approximately 3-to-1 slope down gradually over a 20 to 30 foot change in grade depending on location of the site, since grade changes east to west some as well. But basically, we're talking about a first floor elevation of a building in this scenario being significantly lower than the north lot line. And the goal, again, this is just minor comp plan amendment. There's still 3 more stages to refine plans further, but the current intentions as we sit here is to implement a berm that even furthers a buffer between the houses.
And that seems more feasible because there is going to be so much fill
that
has to be managed,
so there's
right?
material that can be used versus hauled off.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if there's no berm, it's getting hauled off, and you don't have that visual buffer between the development and the northern lot line. And that 120 feet is just a guidance. That's not to say that the building isn't going to be set further away. There's a good chance as plans progress that it could be set even further away in order to get the berm incorporated to the size desired. So again, this is before the CDP conceptual stage.
Yeah.
but Jeff's done, to credit Jeff, from the start. It's been, over a year and a half since or actually for you, it's been a few years you've been working on this site. And from the start, he's really kept in mind that north lot line and the restrictions with it, and not wanting to have something unsightly right up to the lot line.
So what I'm hearing is, either I was a little disillusioned to think, medium box with something else behind there, like medium density, like what the future land use is today. So if it's not that, and instead it's big box versus what's in front of us, that's the vote.
And I could add to, we build as much or more townhomes than any other builder, and townhomes are not feasible to us on this site. A building like this, we do like to incorporate townhomes into the building. For example, the phase 1 building has approximately 20 two-story townhome units in the building. But as far as two-story medium density townhomes, this site isn't feasible to us.
Also, this site is just complicated because of how much topography there is and how expensive it is to develop, which is why I think there's always like ideas in our head of like what would be perfect, and then there's what's realistic with ultimately developers have to make money, otherwise they won't develop it. And I do think this is, I think I support this. I understand that there's some downsides to it, but I think it's worth moving this forward. Obviously, there's more steps in the process. This is just changing the future land use. There's a lot more here, and there's a lot more details to figure out, but I would like to see this move forward so we can continue talking about it.
I guess, yeah. I mean, given the options, I agree. But I know this is just minor comp plan, but I will vote against anything that is not going to have a sizable berm and a visual barrier. So as we get farther down, keep that in mind, at least for my vote.
Well, and I think one thing that helps for me too is the more I look at this, having the buildings close to the single family almost provides a buffer for the single family homes from the commercial uses. And not being traditional apartment buildings with great big parking lots around the back, I think that's going to be a big benefit, having all that parking internal. I think it's going to be quieter, and it may end up being the best possible use for those two lots after all.
That being said, I'll move approval of, should we start with the Plan Commission or the ordinance? Okay, I'll move approval of the PCR 0525.
Second.
Seconded. So all those in favor of Plan Commission Resolution PCR-5-25, say aye.
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 Any opposed? That carries.
I'll move approval of ordinance 2025-025.
To
Second.
provide a recommendation to council to proceed.
Oh, is that what technically it is? Yeah, I'll provide a recommendation to council to approve ordinance 2025-025.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? That also carries. All right, thank you. Moving on then to 5C, public hearing and consideration of CDP 2610-25, Comprehensive Development Plan Amendment for Orchard Point. And with that, we'll be doing public hearing consideration of the rezone RZ 2609-25. So I'll open the public hearing, and I know we've got Danny here. I don't think there's anyone else. So come on up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Danny Fobley with JT Klein, and I just put together a quick presentation for our rezoning application here. That's if my computer cooperates. All right, perfect. So we've been in front of you guys a handful of times. I'll kind of skip the background, but what I think it might be helpful to start with is we've been working on this project here at Orchard Point, Lot 11, since the beginning of this year. We've been in front of you about 3 times, I believe, and just kind of to walk through how this project's evolved. It's been a fairly complicated site, and as we continue to dig into it, we've found a handful of things that have kind of dictated where we went on the project. Our very first time we came through to adjust the comp plan to high-density residential, this was the first site plan that you would see in front of here. And some of our assumptions with this site plan is that the Jamestown stormwater basin would be able to feed this. As we started working with staff a little bit more, we realized that that wouldn't be the case. All the stormwater would have to be contained on site, which significantly changed the layout to kind of our next iteration here, which all the stormwater really goes to that bottom corner there. So it really kind of shifted how we looked at this site. And working with staff, they really wanted us to make sure we're fronting on Nesbitt Road. So we actually went through a couple different iterations to land on this one. This was still not a staff favorite, but it's something we thought could potentially work. But as we kind of continued to explore this, some of the issues we ran into was the topography. There's probably about 30-foot grade change from the top of the bike path down to Nesbitt Road. And what we found on really the building 1 and 2 here is that there'd be a lot of exposed walls because of how high the second building to the first building was. Additionally, there's kind of a spine where the building 3 is, and again, it would have a lot of exposure. It'd be really hard to build the foundation wall for that. And another thing that we heard voiced here was that the existing road that we kind of ran through on this project, or this site plan here, something we wanted to look into. So we kind of tabled this project. We worked again with staff and kind of landed on our site plan that we're presenting here. And something that dictated this site plan was, again, the topography. We worked with fire engineering, and it was roughly a 15 to 20 degree grade coming off Fitchburg Road. Fire department didn't want to run any of their ladder trucks down there, and we thought it was a little bit of a safety issue having traffic shoot out onto Fitchburg Road to 35-mile-an-hour zone, and it's a really steep incline there. And what we kind of landed on this one is fire wanted to make sure we had access on 3 sides to keep the building within code. We would have the fire department kind of come up the bike path, and there's a turnaround just off the roundabout there, and that would be only for fire access. But this is kind of the plan that we're bringing forward here that we think accommodates the stormwater and would also have an affordable senior building, which is the building 1, and then a market rate project, which is building 2. Sorry about that. So building 1 here, this is our affordable senior project. We've already received a WHEDA 9% tax credit award, and just within the last couple of weeks, we received a $8 million Dane County Affordable Housing Fund grant. So we've really got over a lot of the big hurdles to finance this project here. This would be 80 units of affordable senior. There'd be 48 1-bedrooms, 32 2-bedrooms, spread out between 30 and 80% AMI. And those are the breakdowns there. Another thing to note is we do have a partnership with Lutheran Social Services that would provide a lot of supportive services to our 30% units. Building 2 here is our market rate project, and this would be a breakdown of how it looks. And one thing we really like about this is the back patio area. This would be an area with a lot of outdoor seating, grilling space, and the residents from the first building will also have access to this project. Or sorry, just the outdoor area. A couple things just to look at here is kind of our finish and amenity package. We really take a lot of pride in what we're putting in our buildings. Both buildings will have really high level finishes. There's going to be full-size washer dryers, granite countertops, LVP flooring, and a lot of nice amenities, including community rooms, workout rooms. We want to make sure that there's some outdoor areas like we talked about, and really adding some benches to that existing bike path as well. Just to kind of add on, here's some of our existing projects that have a little bit of our amenity packages, exteriors, things like that. Yeah. We do actually have some sample materials in the back here if anyone wants to see some of the materials we put together. Some other things that I kind of touched on, we did talk to city staff, and we part of the layout is dictated by city engineering, the fire department, and really what they think would work for this one from their perspective. We also did do a traffic analysis through ATT&T, who they're an engineering company that specializes in traffic design, traffic studies, and they conducted a trip generation study that essentially concluded that this development's not going to have a negative impact on what was existing there for your comprehensive plan. It's slightly higher on total traffic, but a little bit lower on the peak traffic, which is really where you start running into some of the traffic jam issues. And our full application kind of outlines a little bit more detail of this, but we think this project really aligns well with the comprehensive goals. It provides a really balanced style of housing. It's going to have affordable housing, market rate housing, both of which are considered high needs in the city. It's going to be a really efficient use of the land for this housing project, and it's also going to encourage alternate modes of transit, being right on that bike path there and pretty close to a bus line. Again, don't need to dive into all of this, but just we'll need this to be a PDD. There's no standard zoning code that really consist well with this. We're going to need it for the density, setbacks, height, and our parking ratio. With that being said, just wanted to give an overview of the project before we open up for questions.
All right, thank you. David, yep.
David Haight, 5855 Woods Edge Road. So I want to get the kind of more legal bit quickly out of the way. So one of the things that we're talking about with the previous situation is the next step is the comprehensive development plan, which is here. Now, under state law, the compatibility requirements that are allowed by statute to be enforced under the state law compatibility with the comprehensive plan are the comprehensive plan, zoning, okay? The CDP fits kind of nowhere in this stuff. It's a specific thing to the city that should be in the comprehensive plan, but isn't. And so, for example, I have two significant concerns here. One is, so I spent a lot of time at McKee Farms Park, and I note that that area both has the adult care facility now, but also previously had the senior housing there. And it's kind of amazing how many seniors actually walk around and use the park facility. So I'm a little bit concerned about the lack of places to go for these seniors here. That's one significant issue. The other thing I want to talk about is stormwater. So the thing to remember is that the city has a permit, and the permit specifically says that the stormwater requirements of the permit must be incorporated into each and every planning activity that the city undertakes. And the point is that every stream that the discharge of stormwater goes into in the city is above the legal limit for phosphorus. So that means that it's not just enough to detain the water. There has to be some way of ensuring that that runoff does not increase the level of phosphorus in the discharge. And so we've got something here, a CDP. This is much more detailed than the comprehensive plan, but it says we don't know, and the stormwater engineering people in the city haven't really opined on what's required to comply with the requirement that the city clean up all of the streams that go into it. So here you have a detailed design without one of the most important parts designed. And so it seems to me that this is premature, that you shouldn't approve a detailed design until there's some resolution as to the stormwater compliance with the MS4 discharge permit, which has much more stringent restrictions because all of the water is discharged into polluted waters. We don't have that in this city. That's a problem. But in this particular case, it would be very useful for you to say, no detail. It's been flagged by the developer as a problem. It's not resolved in the CDP. We're not going to approve it until we have something that the engineering department specifically says complies with the city's MS4 discharge program.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to speak on the topic 5C or 5D? Then I'll close public hearing and open up to staff.
Danny had a very thorough overview. I'll just add a couple more points. Comprehensive development plans are something that is a little bit different and unique to Fitchburg, and we use those comprehensive development plans when there's large areas, such as Orchard Point, that develop over very long time periods to kind of help guide that development. In this case, the Orchard Point Comprehensive Development, what's before you this evening is actually amendment number 20. So there's been lots of amendments. The most recent amendment allowed for a proposed senior housing that was a little bit to the north behind Target was our most previous amendment, but that project did not go through. So what the comprehensive development plan originally called for, this was referred to as OP 11 or parcel 11, and that it was originally intended to be specialty retail center, general office, and warehousing. And so what the request here on your CDP amendment is to change that to adult multifamily. Of course, when the Orchard Point redevelopment, the Orchard Point comprehensive development plan was put together, no one really imagined our post-COVID world and shopping on Amazon and all of that. So our shopping habits have changed. Our commercial development, our office and warehousing has changed dramatically. And so part of the reason that we have so many amendments is things have just kind of changed in the overall land use world and the development world. Let's see if I have any other main points. The applicant team did respond to staff's request regarding the spacing of the garage windows. I think they've done a really good job in working in the underground parking without having a big, tall blank walls that are fronting the facades of the building. So I think that's worked very well. They've managed to work the buildings into that steep grade that Danny mentioned. The fire department, Danny mentioned that access. Fire department is going to require some improvements along the existing bike and ped path so that they can move equipment and resources up through here if this drive aisle was for some reason closed. A neighborhood meeting was held on March 13th as part of the minor comprehensive plan amendment request, and staff has not received any opposition specifically from neighbors regarding this request. So staff does recommend approval of the comprehensive development plan amendment with the 5 conditions. And then staff also recommends approval of the rezone to PDD GIP with 8 conditions.
Okay, any questions or commentary?
Of course I have a comment. Sorry.
Thanks for starting us off.
My main concern with this one is the same as it's been all along, which is the lack of parking. And I know that we don't like parking and we don't put a minimum on anymore. However, this is completely surrounded by streets with no on-street parking. So if we don't have an underground parking space for every unit already. We do have some surface parking, but I want to know what's going to happen when we have people in 2-bedroom apartments and 3-bedroom apartments that have 2 roommates and everybody has a car and all of a sudden everybody's parking across the street at the hotel or at the bowling alley or next door at the karate place, are we creating a problem in this area is my concern.
I can chime in a little bit on that. We have a lot of our projects with neighbors. I mean, our most recent one shares a lot, or doesn't share a lot, but we're right next to Hy-Vee, and we work with our property management company to make sure that we're not going to intrude on that. We'll make sure we introduce ourselves to all the building owners surrounding and let them know that we can work with them on that. We feel comfortable with this parking ratio here that we'll be able to contain everybody on site. You know, occasionally somebody's guest is just going to take the easiest route and park, let's just say in Gymfinity, because it's a closer walk to the market rate project. That's something that we take seriously, and we'll work with the neighbors to make sure that they can either let us know, we can find a way to ticket them, or we can use the camera system to kind of figure out whose guest this is, whose tenant this is, and let them know that that's not going to keep flying.
Yeah, because your other building at the top of the hill has a lot of residents parking along that road.
Yeah, it sure does. And, you know, that one has a little bit less of a parking ratio. That one's 116 units. There are a couple underground tandem spots, but I think the ratio is a little bit lower than this. This having a senior component, we have a handful of senior projects in our portfolio that we've just seen naturally they have less cars per unit, per bedroom.
I think, so it's basically 57 for the 80 senior, and it's 100 for 100 of market rate?
That's correct, for underground, plus the surface.
What's the total number of surface units?
I believe it's, yeah, I can pull it up exactly here, but I want to say 50-something, or it's probably,
Oh, I'm in the wrong
if you
one.
can beat me to it, Deanna, I can try and look
I'm
up.
in the wrong file, just a second.
Yeah.
Now, if there were street parking, I wouldn't even bring it up, but it just worries me that there's zero street parking. And I think that the metro service there has been reduced as well.
I've had a handful of my daughter's events at Gymfinity, and it seems like, I mean, I'm not doubting you, but I mean, the parking on Nesbitt for when Gymfinity has an event is all the way up and down both sides. So I don't know if all those people are parking there illegally or parking is allowed on that street, one of the two. But, so I would.
It's 57.
I think it is.
I'm just saying, I know I've parked on there for these events, so maybe.
Now you get
I
on.
don't think I'm so worried about like one-offs.
Yeah.
Friends going to visit. I'm just worried you have, like you're saying, 100 units, some of which are 2-bedroom, and now you have 100 spots for 100 units.
How many surface are there? I mean,
57 for surface.
You can't see it.
So what do some similar projects that we've approved have for underground parking per unit?
In the past, we have generally strived to have one underground or covered parking space per unit. It's been kind of our goal for most of our planned development districts. And then in most cases, they also provide some additional surface parking.
So the large building is similar to what we've seen. It's just the senior building has fewer. You said 1 to 1. Okay.
we build all of our senior buildings at 4 stories and have about 0.7 to 0.75 underground stalls and don't have an issue at any of them with being underparked. You know, I think what we use is like a rule of thumb on the market rate side is like 1.2 per unit, which is like 120 stalls. And then on the senior, you know, if we had 1-to-1 and then maybe like 8 visitor stalls, I would think we'd be in pretty good shape there. So I don't know what that is as a total, but I think that's what I would consider what would be needed just from doing this for, I think we've got 1,000 units in Dane County, and so I've been doing this for a while, and it doesn't do us any good to underpark it, because then it's a problem for the tenants, you know.
Yeah,
So.
I think I heard 2 different things. For the senior, I thought you said 0.75, but then you said 1-to-1.
Yeah,
Did I miss
overall,
it?
I'm saying like 0.75, like underground,
Oh,
but like an
underground.
overall parking ratio of at least 1-to-1. So like that would be what, 23 or something like that?
Yeah.
Like 23 surface stalls needed for that, and probably 20 needed for the other one. So, and then throw on 8 visitors, So probably have 6 extra.
I'll also say that looking at the new D line for Madison Metro, yes, it doesn't go all the way. Basically, the bus stop used to be basically right behind the building. There is still a bus stop nearby. It's basically at Limestone and Fitcherona, behind the Hy-Vee. And so it's a 6-minute walk. I just did it on Google Maps. So if this was all senior housing, it's not, 6-minute walk is not, maybe uphill is not great for a development entirely of seniors, but if 100 of these units are market rate for anybody, I think it's pretty reasonable to assume that a lot of people will utilize the bus service. When I first moved to Fitchburg, I used the bus for 3 years, and we were a one-car household. It's not uncommon, and the bus service has gotten better. Plus, the 75 runs on Fitcherona, so that would be another few minutes to get to the 75. So there is good bus service in the region. It's just a little bit farther of a walk, and now that it's not all senior housing, I think it's more feasible.
Except that the senior housing is the one that has the parking deficit, so.
Yeah.
And they would be the people most burdened by having to walk 6 minutes uphill in the winter, trying to catch a bus to go to a doctor's appointment. I mean, I don't know. You could go down all kinds of rabbit holes. I just worry about the fact that they're going to end up with parking issues down there. And I guess that's your problem, because it's going to be the businesses that are going to be coming after you for your residents parking in their lot.
Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, it's a big issue for us for not being able to rent units and having to deal with the neighbors. So we feel comfortable with this. This is a ratio that's worked for us. And you're right, Carol. I mean, if it's not the right ratio, we're the first people that are going to know about it.
I will also say that if seniors, this is within 3/4 of a mile of a fixed line. So if they are unable to walk to the bus stop, they might be eligible for paratransit service, where they would be picked up at their residence and have access to all the stops along the fixed lines in the network. So I do think that there's options for people that might not be able to make the walk. Obviously, I don't know, I can't say exactly what the qualification metrics are for paratransit, but this line does qualify people for paratransit.
Okay.
So picking up on that, you said Lutheran Social Services is going to be providing services. What kind of services could they conceivably be helping with transport?
Yeah, they do a handful of different services, from financial literacy. They do help coordinate transit to doctor's appointments.
Okay.
A lot of the units in those 30% units have, we would consider exceptional needs, and that requires a caseworker that can either coordinate a way to get them to some of their appointments or meet them on site for some of their appointments. They'll also work with anything that allows, at-home appointments as well. They'll kind of take the lead on some of that. So that's part of their, and technically the supportive services are for everyone in the building. They're really tailored towards the lower AMI units, but anyone can elect to do it at no cost.
Will these underground parking spots, will any of them have access to a plug so they could, for an electric vehicle?
There will be a handful of receptacle boxes for plugs, but we plan on probably providing full-on EV chargers. I think we usually do about 20% per building. So both buildings will have EV chargers in it. Call it 20 in the market rate building, around 8 for the senior building. And that's something we've been doing at a lot of our buildings. The Limestone Ridge building has, I think, 16 chargers in there.
And does that mean that somebody rents an EV charger space?
It's the
Special,
same
or
price.
is it available to more than one person in the building?
It's all assigned parking to make sure that people are parking in the right spots. But we try to provide more than enough EV chargers so that if you had an EV vehicle, you'd be able to rent that space.
Thank you.
Question that I had on the fire access. So for building 2, because the whole idea is that they can use the bike path to the northeast and then use the roundabout. So does that mean they can't go past where that roundabout is? Because how do you get to the north side of building 2 then?
You don't get to the north side of building 2, but we actually.
You need access on 3 sides, though, right? That's what 3 sides are we hitting?
You have the other one where the other side is where you have the dead end. If you pull back, if you go back to it, we don't need to look at me. Yep, I think that gets you 150 feet there to count that as the side.
I think it's.
And then we also agreed to the fire department to increase the fire suppression system in the building from a 13R, which is what's code required, to just a straight 13. which basically doubles the cost of the fire suppression system. But that was part of what we reached kind of a meeting of the minds on with access and whatnot to make the site viable.
Any other comments or questions?
I have a question about the age limits on the senior building. I think we talked about it when you were here before, but I just want to make sure that I make you say it again, because we've had issues in Fitchburg with some of our senior apartments having people living there that were not at the age limit. Is that something that your management company will be responsible for? And does that include everyone who lives in the unit? Or is it only the primary leaseholder?
The federal fair housing only lets you have it relate to the leaseholder. If somebody has a spouse, if somebody moves in and they're 56 and they have a spouse that's 54, you're kind of suggesting that they wouldn't be able to live there. And the way I understand it with HUD is that it will only apply to the leaseholder.
So it's intended for seniors, but it will not be exclusive to seniors, is the answer. Or it cannot be exclusive to seniors.
Within fair housing is, I think, what we're getting at.
No, I mean, you have to have the person that's on the lease has to be a senior. If they have somebody that is also on the lease but isn't a senior, I'm assuming that that's nothing you can do about that. It's just the law.
Okay.
I would love to know, just while we're talking here, how is it that traffic volumes are going to decrease by 20 and 50 trips a day by putting in buildings? I know that's not you, that's probably from your traffic study people, but I love that note.
Because it was like comparing it to what the use was that was there, because I think the way that traffic development plan is for the entire Orchard Ridge, and so there was something that was
right. Yes.
So it's not just.
I'm thinking, how do you decrease traffic by putting in construction? Okay.
So the peak, what it was originally was specialty retail general office. So you're going to have a higher peak in general office than you will on just a residential. It'll be more trips, but it's spread out during the day.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't explain that. The field does not generate any traffic. It's the retail that is in the current code.
Got it.
Okay, I'll move approval of comprehensive development plan CDP 2610-25 with the 5 conditions by staff.
Second.
Seconded by Gabrielle. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries.
And then the rezone.
Yeah.
I'll move approval of rezone RZ 2609-25 with the, how many conditions? 8 conditions by staff.
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? That also carries. All right.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. 5E and 5F, public hearing and consideration of comprehensive development plan CDP 2616-25. And public hearing consideration for rezone RZ 2617-25. So this is for amending the Jamestown Quarry Comprehensive Development Plan, something that looks a little familiar from earlier tonight. Chris is here. I don't think that's only anyone else here to speak on either of these. Chris, did you want to speak or? Okay. Then I'll close the public hearing. Do I have to do each one individually? Because I don't think I did that in the last one. I grouped them. Can we just have one public hearing for both things? Okay. Would you like to give us an update then?
You bet. So I will be giving comments for both the CDP 2616-25 and also for the rezone. The CDP is essentially what was previously approved in August of 2024. Unfortunately, at the time, we have a 90-day window to get a CDP recorded, and unfortunately, we missed that window. Some of the lands have changed hands, and so under different ownership. So we're bringing back the CDP for reapproval. What you'll notice is that the plans are essentially the same. There's been a change in ownership and some of the timelines, and I will make another note on there's been further refinement as we've moved through as we've moved through the rezone process, and of course we've already done ADR for the 4 lots on McKee Road. The rezone is an amendment to a previous rezone for Planned Development District, the specific implementation plan for the lots that are fronting McKee. So that would be the lots that are McDonald's, the car wash, Chick-fil-A, and Chase. So that's what the original Planned Development District specific implementation plan covered, just these front lots. What's coming before you in terms of the rezone is related to signage. Both Chick-fil-A and McDonald's are requesting 2 drive-through lanes and also additional and monument signage. And you might recall that we ran into a bit of a problem when we tried to work through the Chick-fil-A signage. Our code only allows 2 freestanding signs. And so what's before you is an amendment to the Planned Development District to accommodate signage, the proposed signage for these basically McDonald's and Chick-fil-A. So they would be allowed to have 1 menu sign, freestanding sign for each drive-through lane, plus potentially another monument sign, as long as that monument sign, as long as 2 things, they weren't part of the overall Jamestown Quarry development sign, and also the monument sign was at least 150 feet away from the public right-of-way. So this is like way kind of too confusing. Okay, so what we're proposing is that McDonald's can have their 2 drive-through signs and a monument sign. Under our current code, that's not possible. And to bring forward the rezone and bring forward the signage this way saves staff time in terms of going through variances that are very difficult to do. It recognizes the fact that Plan Commission and we've already approved the site developments with the 2 drive-through lanes. So under the zoning, they would be allowed to have a menu board for each drive-through lane and then a monument sign. However, this also proposes an overall development sign. We don't really have an easy way in our current sign code to do this. So this is staff's proposal for the cleanest way to have an overall development sign for the overall Jamestown Quarry. And then you can see how Chase would have a sign, a spot here too, and then these would be for future users. This sign would actually sit on the Chase property, kind of where that little red rectangle sits. Now, if, for example, Chase is allowed. They don't need it. They would be allowed up to the 2 menu signs and 2 menu boards plus a monument sign. But in this case, they would not be able to put their monument sign on McKee because they are already have signage related to, they'll have a spot on this development sign. They would be allowed to put signage back on the private street, a monument sign. Not more than 10 feet tall, but a monument sign back on the private drive, which is Jamestown Way. So Sorry if that was kind of a big mess, but staff does recommend approval of the CDP. But I do need to make a change, thanks to Shelley. We need to eliminate number 6. That's been further refined in later documentation. So number 6 doesn't need to be there. I would just recommend removing, for the CDP, I would recommend removing that. So staff would recommend approval of the CDP with 6 conditions. And then staff would recommend approval of the rezone with the 11 conditions. I'm happy to try to sort out all of that.
Questions?
So just a question in terms of explaining the CDP to council. So this is just like minor edits,
Yeah.
just ownership and like timeline of the development.
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
It's just kind
It
of
is.
like
So
a cleanup.
it is a cleanup. The document that council passed or approved last year was under one ownership. I was not comfortable just changing that document to recognize the new ownership. So really the primary purpose of this whole exercise is to recognize the new ownership and be official for what council is approving.
Got it.
But
And would we have a new CDP then?
you are going to have a new CDP.
okay.
Should council support the minor comp plan amendment for the high density, a new CDP will need to come forward.
So the rezone is really just coincidence in terms of that it's the fact that it's both developments.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
There's nothing.
It's
there's
not really
nothing-
truly related in that way.
No.
Okay.
It isn't.
Can you talk to me about what made you comfortable with the 2 menu signs? Where those conversations
Yeah.
went?
Well, I think we've already approved the site plans with 2 drive-through lanes, for one thing. And the fact of the matter is fast food restaurants, that's their bread and butter now, is the 2 drive-through lanes. It's pretty standard in this, and it's kind of a make or break kind of thing for this particular type of development.
And I'm assuming then the Fish Hatch McDonald's was done through an exception? Because we approved 2 signs there, but not through, I'm assuming, like a rezoning.
I looked at that one. I'm not really sure exactly how that was approved, but.
We did approve it, because I remember voting on it, but I don't know what the mechanism was.
Yeah.
But, okay.
I'm not sure. I'm not really sure.
Bam. All right, well, do we want to approve a CDP that's going to last for a few weeks or months and then get a rezone here so we can get some menus up?
I'll move approval of
Thank you.
CDP 261625 with 6 conditions outlined by staff, removing what is currently in the packet as condition 6.
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries.
I'll move approval of rezone RZ 261725 with the 11 conditions outlined by staff.
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That also carries. All right, thank you. Moving right along, 5G and 5H and 5I. We have certified survey map CS 2615-25, a public hearing consideration of rezone RZ 2614-25, and a public hearing and consideration of conditional use CU 2613-25. All of these relating to 2160 Fitchburg Road. So GH and I, we have Jim. Classy?
I think he just might have stepped out.
Nope.
You're up, Jim.
Or was he also if needed? So if we don't have anything, do you want to just give
Yeah.
staff report then? Okay.
I do.
Great.
Let me just get myself orientated.
I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone else here to speak on the rezone or consider conditional use? If not, I'll close the public hearing and now hear from staff.
Okay. just going to try to bring this up. Okay. So we're down here on the southwest side of the city. This is the parcel in question. The parcel is owned by Daryl Hageman, and the proposal here is to subdivide this parcel to allow the existing home to be cut out on its own separate lot. So I'll go back here. This is the parcel, and the CSM would create approximately 1 acre lot that would cut off the existing house. The existing farm buildings would remain on the site. The new lot 1 would be rezoned to low-density residential. It meets all of our setback requirements. There's a couple notes in here. The septic system for the house is currently entirely on lot 1, which is always a good thing. However, the well currently serves the house and also the farm buildings. It will continue to do so. The CSM has shown an easement for the benefit of lot 1. Staff is also requesting that the applicants provide a shared well agreement so that the long-term situation is stable with the well. Staff notes that actually, let me go back here, that this parcel is actually part of Farm 90. The rest of Farm 90 is across the street, and Farm 90 has 4 rural residential development claims or splits. So in doing the farm consolidation, it's not necessary, you do not need to use one of those claims or splits because there's no new there's no new residence being built. We're just separating out the existing house. But the property owner, Daryl Hageman, will need to determine where he wants to assign those remaining claims in the future. So other than those comments, staff does recommend approval of the of the certified survey map with the 14 conditions, approval of the rezone just for the new parcel 1 to low density residential, and then approval of the conditional use permit that just allows this, what is referred to as the farm consolidation. And I'm happy to take any questions.
I'll note that Ag and Rural Affairs approved all 3.
Just the conditional use has me a little confused. So that is a conditional use for a permit for consolidating farm? It's sort of weird for a conditional use, so I'm trying to wrap my head around it.
Yeah, and it's something that when we were going through looking at some potential updates to that section of code, it's in there. I don't know all the background of it, but there is a conditional use permit for this farm consolidation. Mm-hmm.
Questions, comments, or a motion?
Is there a rationale for splitting off the residential lot? Mm-hmm. Is it being sold?
Yes. Shane, you can just say hi. He's interested in buying the house. And the Hagemans operate, Daryl owns the farm, but he mostly runs it for crops.
Got it.
I'll move approval of certified survey map CS 2615-25, request by Jim Classy to approve a certified survey map to create 2 lots out of 1 existing lot associated with 2160 Fitchburg Road with the 14 staff recommendations.
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That carries.
I'll move approval of rezone. Are we ready for all 3? Okay. I'll move approval of the rezone RZ 2614-25. A request by Jim Classy to rezone property from AX exclusive agriculture to the RR rural residential on a property associated with 2160 Fitchburg Road. with the 3 conditions as noted by staff.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries.
And I will move approval of conditional use CU 2613-25, request by Jim Classy to grant a conditional use permit for a farm consolidation at 2160 Fitchburg Road with the 4 conditions as noted by staff.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That also carries. Thank you. And thank you, Carol, for, if you're going to be the first to ask questions, I like someone who can push through 3 motions. So, all right. Moving right along then to 5J, erosion control stormwater management permit for Outlot 4 CSM 15033, requested by Bruce Holler, agent for Thermo Fisher. We saw this last month, and here we are again. So we have a few people. So Bruce, do you wanna, yep, great, come on up.
Thanks for having me back again. Since our last meeting, there was some feedback regarding the landscape buffer, the buffer for the along the east side for the neighbors, and their interest in keeping the fill operations between the hours of 8 and 5 p.m., 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. on Monday through Friday. In addition to that, since the last meeting, we've done a tree survey, and the documents you have in front of you have sort of a breakdown of our tree survey results of the species that are in the ordinance for us that we were supposed to identify. We have tried to do our best to try to maintain and preserve as many as we could. Some of them it was inevitable for us to move forward with the project, and specifically the honey locust. We identified 19 within our disturbed area, and after we complete our fill operations based on this plan, it looks like we're going to be ending up with about 8 that'll be left over. As a comparison to last month's project limits, we've reduced the area that we're going to be disturbing by about 35%. So we're just over 5 acres at this point with what we're proposing now. We've established a lot of what we found out, the existing vegetation and trees that are on site besides the ones that we had identified. There's a lot of ash trees, a lot of maple trees. We included in my request to our surveyors, I made sure that they picked up any of the conifer trees, because those are always nice to have located, and so we can kind of identify those and see if we can try to save some of those as well, because they're a nice year-round tree that maintains their foliage. So, but I think we've tried our best, or I've tried my best to kind of balance that the tree removal with our fill operation and still allowing to get some fill in here. Again, while the fill's in, we'll reseed and restore with native prairie mix for native plants. And we'll just, a lot of it's going to be, understanding what the concern is with the trees in particular. We'll be going with the contractor. We'll be analyzing things as the contractor gets out there and starts working and deciding, okay, this is a really nice tree. It's not identified on the list of the city's trees, preserve, but it's a nice tree and we'd like to keep it. So we're going to kind of use our best judgment there too. So yeah, that's kind of the summary of what we've updated since last time.
All right, thank you. Next up then is Deb.
Hi, I'm Deb Nye. I'm on Conservancy Way, the last street in the last corner. I did see that they did modification to the plan, which I really appreciate. I have a feeling this is probably going to go through, even though I don't want it to. But, you know, to see the tree loss just is so hard for me. And then also just to see the spruce and maple and cherry and there are some birch in there, just kind of as a subtitle to it, again, breaks my heart that they're just kind of lumped together when they're beautiful. I do have concern, and thank you for doing it 5 to 8. That was that was nice. But still, my windows are going to rattle every time they go by. I do have concern about them saying that they're going to reseed and, you know, bring it back. Only because I think it would be amazing to have something in writing that says they will not redevelop that area at all once they're done with dumping for 2 to 3 years. And then just, you know, I'm afraid we're going to be here in 3 years and they're going to say, oh, we have this level area now. We're going to build a warehouse. I guess I want some reassurance for our neighborhood that if we go through this dumping for 2 to 3 years, that it's going to be done after that and it will come back. And if they could possibly add an allowance to actually plant trees on what they cleared versus the big mountain that they have in, you know, the far end of that. Now it's just a big mountain with some grass. So that's what I guess I'm approaching. I get they want to use their land. Again, I didn't know it was Thermo Fisher's land when I built. Nothing was told about that. So that's kind of, I'm looking for reassurance that we're going to be done after this dumping. So anyway.
Thank you. I don't think there's anyone else here to speak on this one.
I don't know.
Pete, did you wish to speak? Okay. Sure.
In conversations that I've had with Mike Heller, who's the manager there at Thermo Fisher, so I'm working with him on this project, he indicated to me that they have no intention of developing that parcel simply because it's too narrow. There's nothing that they're really going to do. His goal there is to have it as open space at the end of the day. And we've also discussed no problem planting trees, additional trees. And once we go in there, I'm going to be working with my contractor really close. And there are quite a few conifers in there that are, anywhere from 10 to 15 feet tall. And we're going to do our best to save all of those, especially the ones along the discharge that we have there on the map. I envision that there's going to be some that are at the top of the bank there on our waterway that we have there, and we're going to try to save those. So if you've got any other questions, let me know, but that's kind of my perception right now. And then obviously maybe going back in there and also doing some hand planting with some prairie species like Joe Pye weeds and some of the asters that you see along the roadways. So it's kind of our goal is to restore this to a kind of a pristine area. And I think ultimately, I don't know what his intentions are, whether they want to sell it or they want to combine it with the Conservancy or something like that. But I think he wants to just maintain. And the hill in the back, we are going to plant trees on that too. You are? Yes, our intention is to plant trees on that. So, any questions, let me know.
All right, thank you. Deanna, any update?
I don't think I have anything to update. You might recall Plan Commission requested a tree inventory. Unfortunately, city staff just did not have the resources to do so, so it was very kind of Bruce to work with us and his team to provide some tree inventory. Staff feels that it was very generous in order to give that full 100-foot buffer that you see there, so they did increase that. I will just point out staff does recommend approval. My number 7 here noted from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., so I guess I'm hearing that 8 a.m. is...
A little bit about operationally how this works. As I discussed the last time, the goal here is to try to minimize truck traffic on long hauls. So when we have projects in the area, this would be Winger Stone projects, we're selling our sand and gravel and other rock materials from Fitchburg Minerals. So we're releasing that from Payne and Dolan right now. So that's our main operation in that part of the town. And the problem has always been that Payne and Dolan doesn't allow spoils on their sites. So this was an opportunity to minimize that truck traffic. As you recall, that was originally opened up when South Fish Hatchery job was done. So that was kind of the goal, to minimize the truck traffic. Otherwise, these trucks are going to have to go all the way to Kent, Marquardt, and McFarland to dump spoils, which is kind of ridiculous in my opinion. So that's the other good part of this. So this makes sense to me.
So you're saying we should change 7 to be 8 a.m.?
And 8 p.m. is the reason we want to do that is most of our jobs start at 7 or 7:30, and by the time the trucks are going to get there, it's going to be 8 o'clock. Okay. So they're going to be coming on site, and we can control that pretty easily.
I don't know about you, but I don't need any discussion on it after. I wish every developer would listen to us like this and come back the next month with everything checked.
I think it's great. I just have one question. Since our approval is based on the materials and we don't restate the 100 buffer zone. So on the map, you have a 100-foot buffer, but then to the left, you have 50-foot buffer. So I'm just wondering why you're mentioning the 50-foot. Is it because it's not straight down from the red lines? Or I don't want any confusion. We want 100-foot.
Yeah, no, the yellow line, the 50-foot is pointing to the yellow line, which is 50 feet all the way from the property line. The red line is where they're actually disturbing. That's the 100 feet from the property line. So they're just showing that what was before is the yellow line. What we're actually approving is the red line.
Okay, I just want to make sure that they're not noting a 50-foot buffer because it's supposed to be a 100-foot buffer for this approval. So I didn't know why the 50-foot buffer was on, excuse me, was on there, but you're saying it was just to show what was?
That's how I read it, because to show the difference, but.
Yeah, my point of doing that was just to illustrate what we had at the last meeting.
Okay.
With the yellow line as the 50-foot buffer, and then the red being tonight's display.
Okay, because the 100 didn't transfer over to the left there, and because we keep we're only referring to the material, so I wanted it clear, in my mind at least.
Okay.
You certainly could add a condition that the bulk of the...
Okay, I think I would be more comfortable if we...
There is a little jog, you'll just have to pay attention. I guess we'll just have to be sensitive that they do have a little jog in there. But if you'd like to add the condition 11 that the bulk of the fill will follow the 100-foot tree buffer zone as shown in the map by the red line, something like that.
Or modify 2 to say it's based on the materials which include a 100-foot buffer from all. I don't care where we put it.
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
is
Number 2
easier
I
for you.
have based on the submitted plans and materials which detail a 100-foot buffer.
Right.
So we're adding that to 2?
Yes, which detail a 100-foot buffer.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for listening to the neighbors and coming back with this compromise. I think that's great. It's a good example of being a good neighbor. So thank you, and appreciate the tree survey as well. I know that's a lot of conversation in the community about saving as many trees as we can, and we greatly appreciate that effort.
Sure, you're welcome.
I'll move approval of the erosion control stormwater management permit ECSWM on Outlot 4 CSM 15033 with the 10 conditions by staff, with the change to number 2 to clarify the 100-foot buffer, and the change to number 7 to make the time 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to 5K, ADR for 701 Rolfsmeyer Drive Storage Building. It's to obtain an architectural design review for a storage building on the property at 701 Rolfsmeyer Drive. Thank you. If the applicant would like to tell us a little bit about the project.
Oh, there we go. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so I'm representing Tri-North this evening. We are adding a storage building to the back side of our shop building off Rolfsmeyer Road. The project is approximately 10,000 square feet, and it's a metal building on a concrete foundation. Are there additional pages with the submittal this evening? Or in this drawing set?
I'm sorry?
Or, sorry, could you turn to the next page in this document?
Oh, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I guess just to give you an idea of the project, there's some elevations lower. It's 3 sides. Would be the north, east, and south would be a metal panel, and then that west elevation, there are 6 garage doors, and I should say a man door on the north and south elevations. And there were some street views that we brought to the city earlier. As you look from Rolfsmeyer and the other north-south bound road, there's a lot of built-up vegetation from when we built the project. I think it was over 20 years ago. So I guess visibility, of the building from the streets this building wouldn't be very visible. So standing on that one this evening, but I guess I'd open up to questions at this time.
All right. Let's Deanna give an update here.
Yep, so this property is at 701 Wolfsmeyer. It's kind of up our little island in Madison, so I would say. The property is owned by Tri-North Builders, and as Andrew said, that they're just building a new storage building with garage doors. Staff did make some comments about removal of trees on the site. With a request to replace any quality trees following construction. And the applicant noticed that there was no plans to remove trees as part of the initial build. But staff does note that the neighbor to the south did reach out with some concerns about preserving the existing vegetative buffer. And I can show you that here quick, I think. So we're up here in the northern part of the city. This is Wolfsmeyer Drive right there. So the new building will be sitting approximately there. The neighbor to the south did reach out to staff with concerns about the vegetative buffer here. And so staff would just request that any quality trees that are removed shall be replaced, and then maintaining the existing vegetative buffer along the south property line. But otherwise, staff does recommend approval with 7 conditions.
Comments or questions? From what I'm seeing, it doesn't look like the southern part of that property is really being touched by this new building. It's all on the east side of the property.
Yeah, I think that's fairly accurate. I think they're just making a note.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that southern buffer would remain. Any trees that if a tree were to be displaced, we look to replant, probably along that southern buffer, as I've talked to our shop team and construction team. So.
I'll move approval of ADR 701 Rolfsmeyer Drive Storage Building with the 7 conditions outlined by staff.
Second.
Second. He does exist. I was about to call on you and ask for a motion earlier, just to keep you awake.
It's hard when you're remote because there's a delay.
I know. Yeah. Trust me, I've been doing really good at not cutting you off your A's. All right. All those in favor of this ADR?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. Thank you. Next is 5L, ADR for thermoofficial loading dock. I believe we have Colin here to talk about ADR for a proposed loading dock on 5225 Verona Road. So Colin, or somebody else?
Colin's on the phone.
Yep.
And then I'm Chad Ferguson, the design builder. So sorry if I did not sign in earlier.
Yeah, if we could just have you fill out a form afterwards, sure. Just so we have that, great. Thank you. Would you like to give us a little overview of
Sure.
what you're looking to do?
Yeah, so this is a fairly simple, just loading dock expansion at Thermo Fisher for 2 docks. And a little rerouting of traffic, so eliminating, as you can see on the site plan there, eliminating car parking, and then change of direction because the car parking is being eliminated, to add truck routing, so a slight modification to the asphalt here, bumping the curb and gutter in a little bit to make it easier to round around that on that end, and then on the going near the private drive there, bumping that out as well for a little bit of additional asphalt.
I guess staff report?
Yeah, I'll just kind of orientate you a little bit. Verona Road is over here. This is the portion of the building that's being reworked here. They're removing some cubicles and then will allow them to put in the 2 loading docks. So you can see there's some reworking of the parking, and staff really doesn't see any. There's not expected to be any tree removal on this one, no new lighting. The location is entirely within the Thermo Fisher campus, and staff just recommends approval, actually with just 2 conditions.
All right, thank you. Questions or comments?
I'll move approval for the ADR for Thermo Fisher loading dock with the 2 conditions from staff.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Great, that carries. Thank you.
Thank you. And can you fill out a form? Yeah.
Then 5M, early issuance of permits for Lido Apartments, Avante Properties to obtain early issue, located at 5091 Lacey Road. Do we have the applicant or?
Chris was in the room, but I can introduce the project. That's not a problem. So, Plan Commission has approved the preliminary plat, the final plat for the Lido and then for Life Point. So I guess I can bring that up too, just so that we can orientate ourselves. Good evening, Chris. I don't mean to steal your thunder, but I can just keep on going.
Yes, you keep going.
Okay. So we're here at the Lacey Road and East Sherrill Parkway roundabout, and the project is the Lido, and then of course Life Point is here. I do expect we'll issue early start on Life Point very soon, probably in the next couple of days. So the Lido. Plan Commission has not seen the specific plans because the site development and the architectural is done through Article 5, which is done administratively under Smart Code. You did look at Life Point because that is in Special District number 1, and so whenever we're using the special districts, those architectural designs and site plans do come to Plan Commission. But this is a multifamily building with 114 units, and staff's still working through the finalizing actually the Article 5, but we're very close. Today, actually, Chris provided us some graphics that you can kind of see what the development will look like. So. This is unusual. This is a little bit different from some of the other apartment buildings that we have along Lacey because right here this is looking from the roundabout, you'll see townhomes. So they'll actually be two-story townhomes with doorways that go right out onto the corner of the street. A little bit of a more close-up of that townhomes. Another picture, the main entrance of the building will actually be up on Lacey, so this is looking south towards the roundabout. This is a picture from East Sherrill, what am I saying? East Sherrill Parkway, looking to the northwest then. And this would be from that alleyway between the two buildings, between Life Point, and give you a kind of a visual of that. Chris, go ahead. Tell us about the patio.
The patio. So underneath this patio is 2 levels of parking. Most of those parking ramps are exposed, and we're wrapping them with the townhomes. This provides us the opportunity to have this outdoor amenity, also having it opening to the south, which is good for the seasonality of the use there. And it's been a bit of an architectural 3D moving pieces, but this provides a certain amount of the townhomes to provide some privacy for that pool deck up there. So it was a real challenging lot to architecturally bring together. But it's going to have, we're working with the city on providing 12 workforce housing units. I think it's the first project that will be doing that through the city fund. So we're learning ourselves. It's not something that we've done, and I think the city's learning too. So hopefully that goes well for everybody. But that'll be a start for some a project that combines market rate and workforce, at least for us. So yeah, it's on that East Sherrill side, it's 6 stories of exposed building, and that's the tallest building we've ever built. So it's really pushing the limits of where we've gone in terms of height of a building. We're hoping to break ground December 1st. That's why we're here today for this major construction really start. I think there's just a few things, some trees and tree grates and some sewer extensions that I think total some $60,000, but we won't have them done prior to seeking our building permit. So we'd like to complete those simultaneously with the rest of the project. But it also gives an opportunity for us to show the Plan Commission what we're up to, given the process that Smart Code provides to us. We haven't been in front of you much. I'll say that I'm grateful for that process. Right now, there's some building code changes that are coming our way, and because of Smart Code and our ability to move quickly here, we're able to get our application in, hopefully by October 31st, and that'll get us into the older Smart Code or the older building code regulations. We're estimating that probably saves us about $500,000. So speed to market was really important on this one.
So staff does recommend approval with our standard conditions. We do these early starts of major construction when there's an interest to issue a building permit before all the public improvements are complete and accepted by the city. In this case, Chris has referenced there are some public improvements. There's not a lot here, of course, because the streets are all in. But there are some public improvements that make sense to coordinate as the building construction continues. So that's why the early start's coming before you. So staff does recommend approval with those 10 conditions on the early start. And we're happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you.
Oh, Mr. Hayes. Sure.
Go ahead.
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about stormwater. I see the bioretention and the infiltration. I'm curious about where the things that the stormwater that will go off the property, where is that going to go?
I don't know.
It can't be a back and forth. You just get 3 minutes to speak and then.
All right.
Yeah. So just say whatever. Yeah.
All right. So from the perspective of the issue here, okay, so I've spoken in the past about there being the DNR stormwater permit route, which applies both to the city and to individual properties. So I've been doing what I said I was going to do. I've been filing for contested cases for anything that discharges into a wetland, because there's NR 103 is a process. So I have 3 outstanding contested cases. One for Hartung Farms, which I put in abeyance because Director Schmidt got Hartung to agree that they would abide by the Nine Springs requirements, which include protection of wetlands.
They do need to do some wetland improvements under the requirements for when CARP-C expanded the urban service area. There's wetland requirements, wetland improvement requirements.
And so that's actually in the comprehensive plan as a requirement, and they've agreed in the plat to do that. Edgewood is a large problem, and I have a contested outstanding case on that. And just to the south of the area that we're talking right now, I have a contested case for the building that's going in right along Haight Farm Road there. So those are 3. I'm doing what I said I'm going to do. And so the issue is, where's the water going to go from this, and how much is it going to go into a wetland? If it is, then I will be looking at the filing with the state. And for that, I just wanted to let you know that I'm doing what I said I would do. And this is, unfortunately, from the perspective of everyone involved, it's less than optimal. It would be much more expeditious and also cost savings if this were done up front and I didn't have to do it back and then come back to the DNR, which is probably a year process. If anybody's looked at the Line 5, the Enbridge Line 5 contested case hearing, that's what we're talking about. You have to show that you will not impact negatively a wetland for you to be given a permit if you're going to discharge into a wetland. That's my I just wanted to let you know that I'm doing what I said I would do. So.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, questions and comments?
I'll move approval. You didn't have anything, right?
Oh,
Okay. Sorry.
I just had one comment. Yeah. I appreciate you working on the workforce housing. I think that's a really unique model. And I know it's something we haven't experimented with, and you haven't either, but I appreciate you working with the city on that.
We're hoping that it's a break-even proposition, so I think that's everybody's goal.
Yeah. And this is a beautiful building. I really love the townhouses fronting the street. I think that's a really nice design I would love to see more of in the city, and it looks like a beautiful building, and this is already a beautiful area, so I think it'll be a really desirable place to live.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great next to the rehab hospital, and especially with some labor coming to the area, to have some workforce housing might match up real well.
Looks nice.
Thanks.
I'll move approval of the early issuance of permits for the Lido Apartments with the 10 conditions noted by staff.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Next is 5N, preliminary plat PP-2618-25. Michelle Burst for No Oaks Ranch to approve the preliminary plat for 168 parcels, including 141 buildable lots on the property north of Lacey and west of 14, and this is looking to be postponed.
Yes, I just want to put a couple of comments for you that the area that is proposed for this preliminary plat is actually these just to the north of where we were. So it's these parcels. So this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one, and then a little bit up here too. So we're referring it to as the No Oaks preliminary plat. And staff still working with the applicant to finalize parkland dedication, open space, wetlands, still kind of working through. There's the plans that are in the agenda packet are moving us in the right direction, but there's some more details to just finalize. And so that's why we're just asking for a postponement. I will just note this is Smart Code also, and Phil Sveum, who developed Terra Vesa, is working with the property owners here and kind of regrouping the same Terra Vesa team to build out this No Oaks preliminary plat. So I do expect that they will move into final plat very early in the spring, and even hoping to bring forward some new development this next spring. So, but it's in your packet. I'm happy to answer any questions and concerns. It's a big plat, and there's a lot that's going on, and it is Smart Code too. So.
I'll move to postpone.
All right.
Preliminary plat PP 2618-25 to the November plan meeting.
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? That carries. 5-0, Resolution R-187-25, Farmland Preservation Plan Map Amendments.
I don't know if we do have Brad on here. Do we have Brad on still? Yeah? Okay. Brad, I don't want to overstep you. If you want to, as long as you're on, if you want to hop on and give a little overview. Maybe.
Did we put him to sleep?
Probably so. No problem. So Oh.
Here it comes. Sorry, I was getting some delay there. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Cool. Okay, so yeah, we are working on updating our farmland preservation plan map. The county, just for a quick overview, the county maintains the farmland preservation plan for the entire Dane County. They are the entity that basically creates eligibility for the farmland preservation program, the state farmland preservation program. Anything in order to be eligible for the farmland preservation program has to be consistent with Dane County's farmland preservation plan. We are proposing an update to the City of Fitchburg farmland preservation plan map to make sure it's consistent with Dane County's plan and to prepare for upcoming exclusive agriculture. The City of Fitchburg's upcoming exclusive agriculture zoning district recertification by DATCAP. The the map in front of you, and you may recall, I think it came through in 2022 when Dane County updated their farmland preservation. They did a 10-year major update on it. The city adopted that plan as our farmland preservation plan. Through the recertification process, the AX zone recertification process, we discovered some inconsistencies between our AX zoning and the farmland preservation areas. And so this map update is largely to correct those inconsistencies and to prepare for the make all the map updates so we can get ready for our AX recertification that we're planning to complete by the end of next year. So what we did in this map to fulfill that, so the Dane County Farmland Preservation Plan requires any parcels that that may be developed within the next 20 years or that would be expected to develop in the next 20 years, they are not eligible to be in a farmland preservation area. So what we did, because Fitchburg is unique with the neighborhood planning process that is very long range, we adopted recently Greenfield and South Stoner Prairie, which changes the future land use on those parcels. And based on the state requirements and the Dane County plan, having a future land use in our comp plan that is not agricultural would be seen as inconsistent with farmland preservation. So what we came up with, and we worked with Dane County and the state to do this, is develop two categories because again, our neighborhood planning is long range. It's a little bit unique, and so what we designated two areas that are shown in the dark green and light green. The dark green is farmland preservation long term, that's 30 plus years, and then the farmland preservation medium term is light green, that's 20 plus years. So this gives us a way to show both the county and the state that these areas are different. We do plan these for future development, but they are they are years out, and we're not expecting them to develop within that 20-year time frame as of now. So I think that kind of covers a brief overview of what's changing in this map. It does basically follow, in our 2014 plan, it does basically follow, we had farmland preservation areas 1 and 2, and it kind of follows that categorization, but we made it a little bit clearer for when when we work with the county and the state, it's a bit clearer what this map means. There were a few other criteria on how we decided whether to remove or put a parcel into the farmland preservation areas that's listed in the memo. I don't need to walk through those, but if anybody has any questions or wants me to walk through them, that's fine. This second map that's included in the packet with the orange, the parcels in orange, that is showing which parcels we are proposing to remove from farmland preservation areas with this update. And so the implications of that would be if those parcels are zoned AX, they will need to be rezoned out of AX in order to stay compliant. And they will no longer be eligible for the farmland preservation tax credits, which are up to $10 an acre. The reasoning for removing most of these was that either they have a future land use that's non-ag, or and they're outside of one of the FUDAs, or they are we expect that they'd be developed, or in the case of South Stoner Prairie, they're being actively quarried. And you can see there's a couple other parcels in there that are now owned by the Verona School District, and that's kind of consistent with how we handled the Oregon School District parcel on the southeast side of the city. So, we're expecting those to develop within the next 20 years, and I guess that's kind of an overview of that. For parcels that are not zoned AX that are being removed, there are no. It doesn't change any of their tax credit eligibility or anything. So anyway, I'll stop rambling and let, if anybody has any questions, I'll turn it over to you.
Anything?
So the medium term will still qualify for the state program?
It will.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're doing this to just make sure that there's no confusion and that those farmers will still be able to qualify.
Yeah, we're doing it to recognize that we did change the future land use. It got like Brad mentioned, Fitchburg does things quite a bit different. and it really, to say that those parcels in Greenfield won't develop for more than 30 years is a bit dishonest. So we created a second category in working with the state, and the county have been really great with Brad to kind of help us through this process. But I'll be on too to try to sort out with the council. But everything shown in green would still be eligible for the tax credit program.
Thank you.
I have a question just out of curiosity. Does anything that's being used currently as a solar field, does that impact this at all?
I don't believe that they're eligible for the tax credit. I don't think they would receive a certificate from the county because of that, because I think it's based on crops.
It's based on whether it's in production. So.
Yeah. I don't believe so. I don't know the ins and outs of it.
I think it'd be interesting for them in future years to actually notate that so they can see how many are actually in active production. I was just curious. Thank you.
Ag and Rural Affairs approved it. I think they went through the little orange ones that are being taken out and had no problem with that because they wouldn't be able to rezone because they're not big enough or whatever to qualify for the credits anyway.
Oh, thank you. I was like, where are you seeing orange?
Sorry.
Either you're having a stroke or I am, right?
Nobody's having a stroke.
Okay, good. Okay, so this map you're saying that, so sorry, they were saying that because it's small enough, properties impacted parcels, that they didn't have a problem?
Right, they wouldn't be able to, because I asked the question, if they're not AX now, could they rezone in the future? And mostly they're too small or they're not in ag use or something, right?
Yeah, yes.
So anyway, there was no problem from the committee with either of these maps.
I'll move approval of resolution R18725, Farmland Preservation Plan map amendments.
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That carries. Next up is 5P, Resolution R-190-25, approving the agreement for subdivision improvements at the Gusto Development CSM.
Yeah, so this is our standard. Plan Commission doesn't see all the subdivision improvement agreements, but all subdivision improvement agreements are approved by the Board of Public Works and Council, and subdivision improvement agreements are the agreements between a developer and the city for the installation of necessary public improvements. They could be water lines, roads, streets, turn lanes, sidewalks, and in this case, the subdivision improvement agreements that are phased always come to Plan Commission. Gusto is actually the Newcomb development at the roundabout of Lacey and South Seminole. They've got a name now, and they're calling it Gusto. So this is the overall subdivision improvement agreement that the developer Newcomb will sign with the city for the various public improvements that are needed here. So that's the gist.
I'll move approval of resolution R19025.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. All right, last one, 5Q, Resolution R-192-25, accepting the public traffic signal easement on Outlot 3 in Jamestown Quarry.
See, we can't get away from Jamestown Quarry. So some of the traffic signal equipment for the Fitch, I think it's for the Jamestown and Jamestown Way and Fitch-Rona Road. There's going to be new traffic signals that'll go in, and they need a little bit more room on private property for the installation of the cabinets for the electronics and the electricity. So this just grants an easement for public infrastructure. In this case, that infrastructure is traffic equipment, traffic signal equipment.
Questions, comments?
I'll move approval of Resolution R-192-25, accepting a public traffic signal easement on Outlet 3 in Jamestown Quarry.
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries. Next, we have agenda item 6, report from department.
Do you want to start with
Or do you want to do ag and do that first?
Egg and roll, nothing more than what was on the agenda today.
Okay.
Tonight.
Transportation and transit.
Just let me pull up my notes quickly. Phase 2 of Cyene Road is complete and open. Phase 3 is slated to be finished by November 3rd, or as soon as possible, and then that project will be complete. Fitch-Rona Road is still moving forward with plans to start that in 2026. And they're doing PACER ratings on the streets currently. They do that once every 2 years to determine the quality so that they can decide when to redo roads. We had a long discussion on Vision Zero once again, and looked at specifically comprehensive safety action plans. We have been awarded a Safe Streets for All grant to do a comprehensive safety action plan. It was an application with the Madison Metropolitan Planning Organization, and we got a subset of that money. I believe the award was $300,000. We are not certain if we will ever see that money, but despite that, we still have to move forward and plan as if we might. So we're just kind of discussing what that might look like and dug into that a little bit. That's all. Thanks.
Staff has been finalizing the cleanup on the neighborhood plans yet. We're still doing some edits on the appendices, but things are getting pretty much wrapped up on that. So we're moving into the RFP for the comprehensive plan and zoning ordinance, and I will be happy to take any questions or comments.
Hearing none. Any other announcements? Otherwise, I'll take adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? We are adjourned 9:02.